So today we start learning Plsql. Okay. So till now we have gone through SQL. What is SQL? You know, Arvind and Krishna.
Yep.
SQL is a query language, structured query language. It is a query language. It is simply works using single statements, right? It's always a single statement: insert command, update command, delete command, create, alter, drop, select. Anything you take, it works with a single command. But Plsql, PL stands for procedural language. This is the Plsql is actually facilitators writing the programs. Okay, so this is what we say, procedural language. PL stands for procedural. Plsql, a procedural language which is extension to SQL. A procedural language which is extension to SQL. Okay. So the Plsql actually facilitates writing the programs. What is a program? Program is collection of statements or not? Statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, statement 4, statement 5, statement 6, etc., etc. It is collection of multiple statements. Plsql is. But SQL is statement 1, executed. Statement 2, executed. Statement 3, executed. Statement 4, executed. Something like that. But Plsql is a program which is collection of statements. Altogether, you can execute that whole program. Understand? But speciality of the Plsql is this Plsql contains programming logics and techniques, general programming commands plus SQL commands. You can have SQL commands also here, right? So the statements in Plsql program, it is combination of program logics and techniques and SQL commands. Are you clear, Arvind and Krishna?
Yep.
Yeah, that is the in Plsql facilitators writing the programs, that is collection of statements, which can also include SQL commands directly. That is what Plsql. Just go through this document. So Plsql is combination of SQL along with procedural features of programming languages. Actually, this Plsql is developed by Oracle Corporation in 1990s early. Okay. So Plsql in Oracle is a procedural language extension to SQL. So Plsql allow you to write SQL statements with procedural statements both together. So it is a mixing of procedural statements and SQL statements. The procedural statements are control structures and like if statement, looping constructs like while loop, etc. Right? That is program logics and techniques. Okay. See here, what is Plsql? Simply you see some points. So Plsql is a procedural extension to non-procedural language SQL. What is SQL? SQL is not a procedural language. SQL is a single statement based language. It is a non-procedural language. But Plsql is the procedural extension to the SQL. Understand? So Plsql is completely portable. Okay. So high performance transactional processing language. Okay, and the Plsql provides built-in interpreted OS independent programming environment. Of course, Plsql cannot be run on the operating system. Plsql programs cannot be run on the operating system. Plsql programs can be processed by the database engine, Oracle database engine only. It doesn't matter the Oracle database server installed on Unix, Oracle database server installed on Windows, Oracle database server installed on some other operating system. It doesn't matter. Wherever there is Oracle, the PLSQL programs you can execute. Okay. So here PLSQL programs are block structure. So here we say PLSQL programs we call as PLSQL block. PLSQL block means one PLSQL program. One PLSQL block means one PLSQL program. This is a block structure language. Okay. So PLSQL block is a logical collection of procedural and non-procedural statements. It is collection of procedural statements, program logics and techniques, and SQL commands, both, right? So PLSQL is a data processing language, but SQL is powerful data manipulation language and a data retrieval language, okay? So DML commands and select commands will be there in SQL. So combination of program logics and SQL commands together, you can operate and you can build your process. You can build your complete new logic for processing the data. So PLSQL is a data processing language. Okay. So PLSQL is having all features just like a procedure language. Just a second, please. Yeah, Arvind and Krishna.
Yeah.
Yep.
So here, now you understand basically what is PLSQL, right? So simply need not to tell this much story. These all points for your read and understanding. It's very simple. SQL is a single statement based language. Oracle is having SQL engine to process SQL queries. There is no program facility. Oracle Corporation want to provide a simple programming facility in Oracle, so they introduced PLSQL, which is a procedure language where you can write your program logics and techniques and SQL commands together. You can build your complex logics here. That is the main purpose of the PLSQL. This point you understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here you know that Oracle works on client server technology. That you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here this also works on client server technology. So as you know about the Oracle server, please try to understand. This is your computer, server computer I am saying, okay? This is your computer. In the computer, of course, let you assume that Unix operating system is installed. On this computer, we have installed our Oracle server. Okay, this is your Oracle server. Oracle server is installed. Inside the Oracle server, you'll have database, which is data storage area, right?
Plsql.
We have database, which is data storage area, where actually you will store your tables and everything. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
So here you will have SQL Engine. This is SQL Engine, right? Which one is responsible to process the SQL commands? SQL Engine, okay? SQL Engine is responsible to process SQL commands, purely SQL commands. Here you have an extended section. Here you have an extended section. In this extended section, you will have procedural statement executor. Are you clear? Procedural statement executor. This is actually extended area of the server. So this component is responsible for executing the procedural statements, programming logics and techniques, if condition, while loop, variables, declarations, assigning the values, any kind of programming calculations, anything you do, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You know that this area is buffer, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, everything maintains buffer, okay? This area is buffer, that is server side buffer, I say. Got it? In the Oracle server, you'll have the buffer. This is server side buffer. This is what there on this server, okay, on the database server. But you know that who is responsible to process the SQL commands?
Sql Engine.
Who is responsible to process the SQL commands? SQL Engine only responsible to process the SQL commands and operate the database, deal with the database objects and database tables and work with the data storage. But these procedural statements are only for execution on the server side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's assume that here you have another computer. This is user 1 computer, user 2 computer, etc., etc. This is your client computer. Here Windows operating system is installed and you have Oracle clients, right? Oracle client software is installed in this. It means something like your SQL prompt window, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is something like your SQL prompt window. So here only in your client system only you can write PLSQL block. So here I am not calling every time PLSQL program. I am calling it as PLSQL block, right? This is the PLSQL block I did right here. Another user is written his own PLSQL block here, right? So PLSQL block is the combination of the procedural statements and SQL statements, right? A PLSQL block is the combination of the procedural statements and SQL statements. So let you consider this red color lines are SQL statements, blue color lines are procedural statements. Understand? Where you are writing your program as an end user, you will be working with the client system and client tool. You will be writing your program at the client. Understand? So here actually user works. So this program can be sent to the server. Whenever you say write the program and say execute, this program will be sent to the server. Okay. Then in the server side, this program will be executed. How it will be executed? The procedural statements will be processed by the procedural statement executor. SQL statements are processed by the SQL statement executor. Got it? Procedural statements are actually processed by the procedural statement executor. SQL statements are actually processed by the SQL statement executor. Understand? So here you can have a question, that is SQL statement is executed. SQL statement do something on the server, right, on the database, right? And that SQL statement gives you response. Suppose insert command, so one record inserted successfully. Update command, these many records are updated. So select command, it gives you the record set. That gives you every SQL command after execution on the database. After it is affected on the database, it gives you some response, some result, right? So that could be written on the buffer, temporary area, that is buffer. This PLSQL program can read the buffer, take the buffer. There is a commonly accessible buffer. Understand? Here you try to understand SQL commands are processed by the SQL engine that will influence the database. PLSQL's procedural statements are executed by the procedural statement executor. This will wait for the SQL command execution. It will take the response from the SQL command and it will further execute the next statements. Okay? Are you clear now?
Yeah.
Of course, similarly, one more user written his own PLSQL block. This PLSQL block also sent to the server. The SQL statements are actually executed by the SQL engine. PLSQL statements are processed by the procedural statement executor. Got it? Of course, finally, after completion of execution, response is given to the client. After completion of execution, response is given to the client. This procedure executed successfully. This is the server side output. Everything is displayed to the client. This is how it works on client server technology. Are you clear?
Yeah.
The basic architecture of the PLSQL. This is basic architecture of the PLSQL. Understand?
Yes, I have a question, Srinivas. So,
Okay, go ahead.
in the architecture, you explained the buffer space, right? The temporary space.
Yeah.
So usually for each and every SQL command that we execute, it has will it have a temporary storage for that?
Yeah. Even insert command you execute. Insert command you execute.
And how long will that data or how long will that temporary statement details will stay there?
Insert command you execute, but insert command is not directly affected on the table. It is affected on the buffer only. Whenever you execute commit, then only it will affect on the table, right?
Yes, yes.
That point, that thing you know, right?
Yeah, I know that. No, what my basic point was, usually when we do delete things, but even by mistake, let's say you commit, is there any possibility to retrieve that delete
No.
thing from this temporary storage? That's what my actual question was.
After commit, nothing.
Okay, got it.
So this is the diagram you can understand. So Plsql blocks sent to the server, procedural statements will be executed by the procedural statement executor. SQL statements will be executed by the SQL statement executor on the server. So here you can see, you can follow this diagram. Okay. So SQL statement executor on the server. This is the Plsql engine. This is only for programming execution, right? So this actually affects on the database. It is database storage, and everything is actually for the SQL statement executor, which is part of your Oracle server. Got it? Yeah. This is just a diagram, and this is just what is the architecture and how the statements will be processed on the server side for the Plsql. Got it? Yeah. So then, as I am telling you, Plsql is a block structure based language, right? So Plsql block is a collection of procedural and non-procedural statements, I told you. So Plsql is a block structure language. The Plsql program is divided into multiple logical blocks. Got it? What are the blocks? There are 3 blocks. One is declaration part, second one is executable part, third one is exception handling part. Okay. Here you try to understand, this is your Plsql block, means Plsql program. Okay. In this Plsql program, you have 3 parts. One is declaration. Okay. One is declaration part, another one is exception handling part. Okay. So in between you have body, that is executable statements. This is actually body of the Plsql. Okay. So here, if you understand, this declaration part is optional. In this declaration part, you can declare your variables. You can declare your constants. You can declare cursors. Any kind of declarations, any kind of local declarations can be done here. Okay. Then exception handling one is also optional. So please understand, declaration part is optional. Exception handling part is also optional. If there are any exceptions, if you want to handle it, then only exception handling part is required. You either you write or don't write, no problem. But this executable statements part is the body of the Plsql program. This is mandatory. Got it? Once you understand syntax of writing a Plsql block, so here declare is the keyword for declaration part. Begin is the keyword which represents beginning of the Plsql block. End is the keyword which represents end of the Plsql block. Within this, you can have exception handling block. So declare is the section where you can declare your variables. Okay, this is the declaration part, variables, constants, etc. you can declare here. Exception handling is the section where you can write exception handlers, where you can write your exception handlers, right? This is the exception handling part. Then begin is the section where you can write your executable statements. This is body of the PLSQL block. This is body of the PLSQL block. This is how the syntax of writing a PLSQL block. And if you understand, this declaration part is optional. This declaration part is optional. Even though you doesn't write this directly, you can start from begin. Okay. And here exception handling part is also optional. So here exceptional block is also, you need not to write if you don't want. But begin and end is must, and executable statements are must. This is how syntax of writing the PLSQL block. Here everything is there in the declaration. What's about the declaration part? So the declaration section of PLSQL block start with reserved keyword declare. This section is optional, and it is used to declare many placeholders like variables, constants, records, cursors, etc. Okay. Then exception executable part. This section enclosed between the keywords begin and end. This is mandatory section. It consists of executable PLSQL statements of the program logic to perform any task. Okay, exception handling part. If there are any exceptions occurs, so to handle the exceptions, this exception handling part contains exception handlers. So here is the syntax of writing your PLSQL block. How to write a PLSQL program. Got it? All of you understand the syntax of writing a PLSQL block?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So now, as I explained you in the architecture, where actually your complete PLSQL program is executing, Arvind and Krishna, let you tell me.
On the server?
On this server, right? So the complete PLSQL program is executed on the server by the PLSQL engine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where actually it will print the output message inside the server only, right?
That is see, the output is basically your selection or whatever, right? I mean, end of the day,
Or
there are two things here. So if you are using PLSQL to store any value, it will reside in the server. If you are actually doing some selection or some retrievals, it will be printed on your client.
I'm not talking about select statement here.
I mean, if you
Because
use any PLSQL kind of programming inside with the combination of SQL, right? I mean,
don't think in that way. I'm asking PLSQL program gives some output, right?
yeah,
Any program, like you consider C program, C++ program, Java program, any single program you have written, some output, some message, something you want to print or you want to display, something you want to give output, right?
client.
So generally, this PLSQL program is sent to the server, which is processed on the server, not in the client computer. Okay.
Mhm.
Are
So
you
it
clear?
will be in the log messages.
Here inside the server, you have a buffer that is server output memory, server output buffer. Okay. In the server side, you have an output buffer, output memory. So every PLSQL program that run on the server will send the result to the output buffer. That output buffer will be appear on the client machine. Do you understand me, Arvind?
Oh, okay.
Server side, you have a temporary memory, you have buffer that is called server output. Okay. Whatever program you execute on the database server, whatever PLSQL block you execute on the database server, that will send all the outputs to the server side output buffer. Okay.
Okay.
If you want, you can display that on the client.
Yeah.
Are you clear?
Yep.
Yeah. So here for that, by default, for any session, that server output state is off. So what you have to do, you have to set server output on. Okay.
Okay.
Set server output on. So it will make the status on so that it can display the server output on the client. Understand? Yeah. So now I am showing you a simple program. I am not beginning with, I am not declaring anything. A simple program I am writing. Begin. Okay. Here I am writing a command dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. Okay. This is the command to print something. Okay. I'm printing the message. Hello world is the text message. Again, dbms underscore output dot put underscore line welcome to Oracle. Okay. Welcome to database programming PLSQL end. Now simply you give a slash and execute. Is it printing the result? This is your first PLSQL block. If possible, please write it down. If possible, please note it down. This is your first PLSQL block. Okay. Arvind, Krishna, are you clear so far whatever we discussed?
Yep.
Yes.
This is what basically what is PLSQL, right? So today simply I do stop here, Arvind and Krishna.
Okay.
I will send you this Word document, whatever I have shown you, those all points. I will send you the Word document so you can read and understand about what is PLSQL. Very simple. Okay.
Yep.
And as well, this basic program. This is the first Hello World program. Okay.
Yep.
So next tomorrow onwards means next tomorrow we don't have class. Next class onwards, we will see how to write the programs one by one. Okay.
Okay.
Are you clear?
Yep.
Yeah. And one more thing, Srinivas, you said you will be giving us some sample queries to practice on.
Once joins and subqueries are completed, I will give you.
Okay. Okay. Sure. No problem.
Yeah. And Arvind and Krishna, who recorded today's session?
I'm recording that.
Yeah, Krishna, can you upload that to your G drive and send it to me, the link?
Sure, I'll do that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Then tomorrow you utilize time to go through the further whatever previous videos I gave you and those all.
Mhm.
And the day after tomorrow we will have session. Day after tomorrow I will teach you SQL and Plsql, both the sessions.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
madam.
you. Yeah, bye.
Tomorrow no class, day after tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.